On today's episode, Joey and I talk about why wrestling is the future of BJJ. Now, it may not be obvious, but the Japanese are cooking up a tidal wave of wrestlers that are coming to steal our lunch. Why athletic development in early stages of wrestling could benefit our jiu-jitsu brethren. Jason Nolf, Penn State alum. What is he doing that you don't know about which could help your jiu-jitsu? And last but not least, the most interesting thing that we can learn from wrestlers that could elevate BJJ beyond limits. Let's get into the episode. Also, if you like this content and you want to see more of it, like, subscribe, and give us a follow. Cheers.
Now, we're discussing this incoming wave of strong, athletic, robust individuals. Now, here's one thing that you can do right now that's going to put you in the best position to defend against this wave of strength and muscle mass. Jump on the Bulletproof for BJJ app and start building your own strong, athletic, robust body. It's going to help you perform better on the mats. It's going to keep you safe from injury, and it's going to allow you to express your absolute best jiu-jitsu and submission grappling. All you got to do is go to the App Store, search for Bulletproof for BJJ. You can start for free, 14-day free trial, and you can access every single one of our programs. And the best part is JT and I are there to coach you through the programs as you navigate new heights of strength and mobility. See you on the inside.
There is a great saying that fatigue makes cowards of us all, and nothing will make you more fatigued than dehydration. And also wrestling rounds. So if you've got to go toe-to-toe with wrestlers in stand-up rounds, you need to be hydrated. Our friends, Sodi, have got you covered. So with a great mix of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, just go to Sodi, SODI.com.au, use the code Bulletproof15, and you'll get 15% off when you make your Sodi purchase, and you can stay hydrated and bang it out with these wrestlers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. Shock. Wrestling is the future of BJJ. Now, this might sound strange, but there have been a few very strong signals lately that have indicated to me that wrestlers are coming to steal our lunch, folks. We need to pay attention. Why do I say
What
this?
are such indicators?
Okay, so let me just... Something you may not be aware of. Recently, World Wrestling Federation, I'm not talking about WWF, I'm talking about United Wrestling Federation teams event. Basically, most recent Olympics, Japanese team did exceptionally well in wrestling. And there is a particular guy who's standing out right now. Now, I've got his name. I don't want to mispronounce it. I might. It's Masanosuke Ono, 61 kilos. Absolutely destroying Uglev, who was the Russian Olympic champion, and then totally took out Vito, who is the American senior world's champion, who was expected to do very well, and teched them, as in 12-0, 12-0. Like they have almost like a mercy rule. Once the score gets past a certain amount, it's game over.
Right.
It's like a knockout.
Yeah.
And why am I talking about this? So everyone knew that the Japanese are going to come in really strong because they had such a great demonstration at the Olympics. But Ono has come in and wrecked shop at 61 kilos and beaten dudes who are very fast and considered to be the greatest wrestlers. And what I believe this points to is the Japanese in a training system, whether they pick a sport, whether it be soccer, football, or they pick weightlifting, or they pick something and they just go super hard on it. The obsessive dedication to a thing, they find a way to the top, whatever it might be. Now, obviously, they've got judo as such a huge, strong part of their culture, but I want to throw back to a previous time when Russia, back in the 90s, was actually very good at judo. There was a time when leg grabs was part of Olympic judo. It's now been removed because the Russians were beating the Japanese. The Russians were taking their wrestlers, who were not quite Olympic level wrestlers, and they're like, chuck a gi on, son. Get out there and tackle those Japanese world champions. And Russia had many world championships and Olympic medals applying wrestling techniques to judo.
Yeah.
Then the International Federation, which is essentially just the Japanese federation, went, no more leg grabs. No, we don't like that.
Right.
That's dirty. That's dirty judo. We don't want that. Here's a funny thing, and this is how this all comes together. Recently, the Japanese Federation brought back leg grabs for like Japanese federated events, not Olympics, not World Championships, but they're bringing it back, I believe, to make the sport more popular, to make it more exciting. Because so many judokas I know are like, game ain't what she used to be, because they all practiced fireman's carries and single legs, and it made the game more interesting, right?
Yeah.
These are aspects of wrestling, right? This is really the thing.
So you're saying in judo they've brought it back in?
I believe just for the Japanese national.
Okay.
It's not for the Olympics, not for Worlds. They're just bringing it back. And I believe it is to make the sport more popular.
Yep.
Why? Because we know wrestling is fucking exciting, right? And here's another thing I wanted to say on this kid, Ono. They said to him, who is your favorite wrestler? Like American wrestler. And he said Cael Sanderson, who is like considered the modern era GOAT. I think he never lost a match, Olympic champion, NCAA, and he's the head coach at Penn State.
Right.
This is my tangled web of logic, bringing it all back together, right?
Yep.
And he said, I'm going to go and do my next training camp at Penn State. So early in 2025, he's going to go train under Cael Sanderson. He also said he loves Jordan Burroughs, but who doesn't? Blast double from hell. Now, you know who else trained at Penn State? Jason Nolf. Jason Nolf competed at the CJI.
Yes, he did.
Pat Downey, your boy, also competed at CJI. Another very athletic wrestler whose name I cannot remember.
Not from Penn State, though.
No, not from Penn State.
Right.
But stick with me.
Okay, yeah.
So Jason Nolf is opening his own wrestling and jiu-jitsu school in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he also coaches or co-trains with Isaac Michelle.
Okay, yep.
Right? And I know for a long time, Isaac's kind of struggled to find a new home kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
Why would a wrestler go and open a jiu-jitsu school? Because it's going to make some money, man. It's going to make some money. And here's the thing, like jiu-jitsu folks for the longest time have always complained about not making money. You know who makes less money than jiu-jitsu folks? Wrestlers. They make absolutely no money. Like they have collegiate careers, they get paid nothing.
Do they get paid nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, you get a scholarship.
Right.
Yeah, you can hang out here and learn whatever you're going to learn, but you got to wrestle, right? Yeah. Work their ass off. And then, they have one of the hardest paths ever, which is trying to go through the selection system to make the Olympics or go to Worlds.
Yeah.
Like, it is so thankless. And even at the Olympics, depending on what nation you're representing, you'd be lucky if you get like 10K to win an Olympic gold medal.
Right.
Maybe 30K if you rep America or wherever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you're from Turkey or you're from Iran, they tend to like value it more because that's some of the only Olympic medals they're getting. So they do support it more. But I'm telling you what, they're coming to steal our lunch, folks, because now that there's money on the table, you've got these incredibly highly tuned, athletically developed folks. And then, we've got Joseph Chen. I mean, he's amazing at jiu-jitsu. But that said, when you get someone, and I think we're going to see this is a prediction, and I know he's waiting to jump in on this. We do not have as much of a like athletic development base in jiu-jitsu as wrestling does.
How dare you say that? A fallacy.
And as a result, we've got our very much more athletic, hardcore cousins broke as a joke. And they look across, they're like, hey, what's going on with that submission grappling thing?
Yeah.
They're getting $1 million?
I'm corn fed over here. I could that guy out. He's in a strip mall.
I'm going to get that guy, right? And so I believe if jiu-jitsu folks don't start, I mean, even if we have a closer look at who's doing really well, like Nicky Rod, right? If he's the number one guy right now, how did he get to where he is? It's superior wrestling.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not doing birimbolos. Nicky Rod is taking you down and squashing the fuck out of you, right?
Yeah.
Now, Nicky's very capable. He's obviously got a lot of skills, but how did he come up so quickly? It was having a wrestling pedigree.
Yep.
Push back, Joe.
No.
What's your thinking on this?
Well, first, I love the way you've just picked data from
Just
different,
random.
yeah, and like
Absolutely
presenter it like,
random.
and then this guy, and then they're interlocked.
And so
because
this
then
happens because of this. And
very Christopher Nolan-esque. Feel like I just watched like an abridged version of Tenet.
Come on, it's more entertaining than that.
But so I reckon that's a thing. But you know what I'm also thinking is that like we see trends in jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
And one of the big trends lately has been wrestling, right? And you see events that have point system more geared towards that, like ADCC, not CJI, right? CJI the points don't really bias towards wrestling in the way that ADCC does.
Potentially, but who won?
No, I know, but if
The folks with the superior wrestling won.
yeah, sure, but that's separate discussion. Just in terms of the competition, like ADCC is like you pull guard, you get penalized, right?
You're allowed to pull guard in CJI. This is true.
Yeah, so in that way, there's going to be events like ADCC that come along that really are more geared towards like good takedown fighters. But with the trend thing, I'm thinking, do we see more wrestlers enter, and then do we just see a greater trend of people going back to guard? Just being like, yo, this stand-up game, I'm pulling, because the jiu-jitsu players will always have, not always, you're going to see hybrid athletes, right?
Sure.
You got a Jason Nolf. He's a wrestler
Yep.
who's maybe come across jiu-jitsu, likes it, sees money in it, whatever.
Yep.
He's going to start to produce these hybrid athletes, like what we're seeing of like
Topuria.
yeah, and we're seeing those guys like Isaac Michel that are like training at a wrestling academy, Micah Galvan.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the next generation are just going to be doing both all the time.
Yes.
They're not going to be doing periods of specialization. I just wrestle and do submissions every day of the week.
Yeah.
And so in that way, do we just see that it evolves the game and that like it just kind of shifts the trend a little bit?
Potentially. But I guess what I'm saying is you get this kid, Ono, who's 21 years old, who is obliterating the greatest wrestlers in the world. You put that guy in at CJI, I think it would be very hard for anyone to do anything to him. Like, short of a flying triangle, I'm not sure.
You don't think like a guard pull and K guard shit?
No. I don't think you're getting in on the legs on this guy. This guy is so relentless, so hard driving, so bam, bam, bam. Like, if you were to teach that guy how to take the back and choke somebody, like it's absolutely over. It's kind of frightening to me because I'm like, oh my God, it's exhausting to even imagine the level of athleticism on someone like that. And I mean, plenty of folks have said it for a long time that you don't need to be world class, but that guy is not getting paid any money, hardly at all. Like the government might give him a stipend so he can just train, but he's not like a high level sports person. And why do I say this? I say this because I think for the longest time, jiu-jitsu's rested on its laurels around technique over strength, blah, blah. But now if we, you may have remembered it. It wasn't a meme, but it was like a chart where they were talking about the effectiveness of certain martial arts in the UFC and the amount of champions who had a wrestling background versus jiu-jitsu. And it's like...
Jiu-jitsu had its day, but it's clearly
wrestlers. It's like, it's all really. Like the amount of jiu-jitsu... People who had a jiu-jitsu background who became champions is so much smaller than those with a wrestling background who became champions, whether it be freestyle or Greco, whatever it might be, right? So... MMA to the side, we do see obviously more and more jiu-jitsu folks just wrestling because it's such an important thing as part of the growth of submission wrestling as a sport. And I do believe it will become the number one mode, like sport, like the most popular sport. It will be more...
Which will, sorry?
Submission grappling.
Right.
Like it will be more popular than just wrestling.
Yeah.
It will be more popular
jiu-jitsu.
than just jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because it is that real sweet spot on action and the kill and all of that.
It's got the best of all.
It does. And at the moment, I believe that we see a predominance of jiu-jitsu folks with a scattering of kind of ex-wrestlers coming across. I think this changes. I think you see a lot more like real top-tier wrestlers who've come through as juniors or teenagers and they're like, okay, pivoting hard into jiu-jitsu. And what I feel we can learn from this is that we just need to put more time and energy into being more athletic as jiu-jitsu folks earlier. Like you're saying this hybrid thing, it's really just how can we be more athletic, you know?
You know where I see, because I agree with that whole take. But where I do see maybe a bit of a counter to that is, did you watch that event? Was it the AIGA?
Sure.
Right, in Russia somewhere, and they had a bunch of like Russian teams.
Sure.
And then they had like a bunch of American, jiu-jitsu fighters in there and whatnot. And like you were watching, like I'm guessing that a lot of these Russian submission grapplers had a strong wrestling base with submissions thrown in on top. Yep. And some of them were hard.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the stars we know, like say in America and whatnot, actually did really well.
Yeah.
The Joseph Chans.
Owen did really well as well.
Yeah. And so in that way, it's like.
But I would say they're not the best. That's why they're doing AIGA. They're not Sadulayev. They're not like.
No, but then the dilemma is like, does someone who has invested their entire youth and identity into a particular discipline
for $1 million, it's not like they can't go back. It's like, I'm the world champion.
Yeah, but
now I'm going to go over here.
Is the CJI enough to pull them across?
$1 million? Like, that's more money than most athletes see in their career. It doesn't matter what sport you play. So I think here is why / how it could happen. For example, what has happened also at this most recent event was Magic Man. His proper name escapes me. I'm an idiot. He is the head coach now at Cowboys Wrestling, considered to be one of the greatest of all time. Unfortunately, didn't make the last Olympics, but this was like a bit of a...
What'd you call him? Magic Man?
Magic Man is his nickname.
Okay.
I'm sorry for all my wrestling fans out there who know his real name. It's just escaped me. He went up a weight class. He went up to the 92 kilo category because he was considered to be one of the best of all time at a lower class.
It's not Kyle Dake or 72. Some shit?
No. Kyle goes a category lower. This guy, what's his name? Anyway, he fought up, and they put him against Sadulayev. And Sadulayev is considered to be the heavyweight GOAT from Russia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, spoiler alert, Sadulayev squashed him. Like, he didn't really get a chance to work his game, because he's a great mover and he moves so well, but also Sadulayev, who is a bulldozer, also can cartwheel and move and flip.
Yeah, he's an aerial genius.
And he just crushed. It was brutal to watch.
Was that the one where bloke kind of put Sadulayev, was basically putting him out of bounds, and then Sadulayev just flipped over his head and just reversed
threw
it?
him out.
You're like, how the did you just reverse that? Yeah, I think I saw that clip.
There's many highlights, and they're saying, is Sadulayev the greatest of all time? He was already considered that prior to this match, and it's just disappointing because it's like when fighters go up a weight category, what do you give up? Even though you might be a better mover, it's like strength is a huge component of this, and if someone's stronger than you and they're also a great mover, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to say is that the lack of athletic development that is in jiu-jitsu, which wrestling does so much better than us. They basically train their athletes to be gymnasts / Shaolin monks. You see them doing the head flips and, it's incredible the level of athletic development. There's a whole army of broke ass, hardworking, bad motherfuckers out there, and they are not vaping, and they are not eating acai, and they're not shrimping, and they're going to come fuck us up. So this is...
And they lift weights.
And they lift weights.
And they stretch.
And they stretch.
Yeah.
Static stretching too.
And they eat protein.
And they climb ropes. They do all the stuff.
Yeah.
And they're military trained and all that stuff. We can do it too, but it is not in the culture of BJJ necessarily, even though there's some elite folks who are doing similar things. I believe so that we can prevent this impending wave of wrestlers who's going to come us up.
The Red Terror.
Gonna come
we need to get Joseph McCarthy out of the grave so he can start locking cummies up.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying,
by the way,
we need to man up. we all need to be training more athletically earlier in our jiu-jitsu journeys, so it's not some f***ing shock to the system.
There's nothing you can do. The shit's coming.
It's
You're
coming.
gonna lose.
Game over.
Just go with it, man.
Just have fun.
Just, hey, man, can you teach me how you did that double leg? That'd be great.
Yeah. No. So there it is, folks. We need to pay attention. I mean, I get we all watch wrestling with admiration, but it's surprising to me that it is not a bigger part of what is being taught in schools across the world. It's only in select elite schools that's being taught, when this should be more across the board. That's what I'm saying.
Fair take, JT.
Anyway, it's slightly, even though it comes from a fairly scattered, irrational place, the conclusion is something that we need to get up on, because I'm telling you, they're coming and we need to be ready. There it is, folks.